An ABC News brief brought to you by Sheer Elegance by Legs. Now from Washington, Max Robinson.
Good evening. Reports from Lebanon tonight say Italy will soon cut in half the number of its peacekeeping troops in Beirut. The Pentagon appears to be backing off President Reagan's assurance that officers would not be punished for the bombing of Marine headquarters in Beirut. Some in the chain of command may now be reprimanded. And in Congress, there's a new move afoot among Democrats and Republicans to shorten the Marine stay in Lebanon. Meanwhile, Jesse Jackson has arrived in Damascus and tomorrow is expected to meet Syrian President Assad and the captured American flyer, Lieutenant Robert Goodman. Tonight on Nightline, George Orwell's 1984. Now this.
Now there's a pantyhose with a look and feel of silk from the Orient. Sheer Elegance Pantyhose by Legs. Silky enough to charm a samurai.
El Salvador today introduced press censorship for the first time in that country's 4-year-old civil war. That's News Brief. More news later on this ABC station.
Cool. I don't know. I think I've turned into a Republican since I turned 36. Because, I don't know. This Cat Williams interview wasn't for me. Okay. This Monique interview wasn't for me.
I mean, you don't have to listen. That's what I do. I just be like, I see people talking about it. I'm like, I did listen to the Cat Williams one, though.
No. My issue wasn't that, it's quality entertainment. I just disagree with them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
they're fucking
okay.
nuts.
I feel crazy, though.
No, you're not crazy.
Like,
no, I think people are just, they're adding to, everyone is embracing the troll.
Oh, okay.
And that's like, the whole Shane Gillis shit.
It feels earnest by a lot of people, though.
What?
Oh, I actually really don't like the Shane Gillis shit.
Well,
I think SNL really are torturing Bowen with that. I think they've been fucking Bowen over all season, and I think that this one in particular is very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty crazy. But, hey, everybody. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Brandon Collins. Welcome to Drunk Black History. Today, I have an incredible guest, writer, comedian, just great person, Rae Sanni. How the hell are you?
I'm good. That's so nice. Great person.
Well,
just call me that.
Yeah, I've known you a long time. You've
Yeah.
always been really nice to me. We've always had great conversations.
That's because I haven't slept with you. If I slept with you, you wouldn't call me nice.
Jesus.
You'd be like, this bitch is nuts. Anyway, I love you, Tati. How are you?
I've done enough comedy shows with you. I already know that. You know what I mean? Because we know each other through the stand-up comedy world. So I've seen. We've done a lot of shows together. Whether it's like I put you on the show, or we've just run the same lineups and stuff. And the black comedy world in New York it's small. Like it seems big, but it's really not.
It's really not. And I think, in particular, because I think we have like a similar sense of humor and style of comedy and things we appreciate. Because there's I don't want to be disrespectful and call it the Chitlin Circuit, although I don't think they would reject that name. But there's a more kind of when you think of comics like Talent or like
Willie Jackson or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And clubs like Mocha and whatever.
Chicken Pot Pie and stuff. Yeah.
So
no, this for real, a comedy named Chicken Pot Pie.
And he's not bad. He's not for me. It's not my stuff, but he's not bad. And I think that there's there's an in-between lane where you're not quite doing only white shows, you're not quite doing only black shows, and I think
it's been interesting, especially with Drunk Black History for me, because I've never really performed in predominantly black spaces. It's always I've been invited to the white rooms, and so it's been a good shift for me. But I've always been a little bit uncomfortable performing all black audience because of the way I grew up. I grew up raised by black Republicans. I grew up in the suburbs. So
Shut up. Time out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We talked about this before.
No, we have never talked about this. We have never talked about this. No.
What?
No. Black Republican parents?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Yeah, my mom was part of the collegiate, collegiate Republican group at University of Michigan.
Oh, my God.
My grandparents were Reagan Republicans. Yeah.
Oh,
and I knew as a kid just seeing, there's photos of my grandparents with Ronald and Nancy Reagan at the inauguration.
That's a little surprising.
No, not at the inauguration, at the convention. And I remember
what year?
I couldn't tell you, but I just remember as a kid seeing that picture and be like, that don't look right.
It ain't right.
Listen, I knew
God
immediately.
bless your family. It ain't right.
Yeah.
Because I would have taken it if it was not even Nixon Republicans, because his ass was fucked up. If you gave me Gerald Ford Republicans, I might work with you.
Yeah.
Okay? But Reagan Republicans.
That's bad.
Second term or first term? Because if you
Both terms.
accidentally voted
Both
for him
terms,
first time,
and they were in Hamtramck at Detroit. Yeah, they were confused.
Okay, wait, time out.
I love them to death, but they were very confused.
Were they confused or were they rich? Because those are different
Both.
things.
That's a good point. Well, that's the thing is like, and they were the wealthiest out of my grandmother's family.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather worked at General Motors. My nana worked at Detroit Edison. Like they did well.
What
for
did
themselves.
they do though? Those are
She was
different
like a
things.
manager.
Yep.
At Detroit Edison, and he worked in the factory. But he was the kind of dude that was like, "Tell me what you want me to learn, and I'll learn." Like he learned how to do all this different shit.
Was
So
he not a union guy?
Yeah, yeah.
How you a Reagan fan and you're a union guy?
I mean,
don't
the union
understand
protected
that.
him, but you really protected the pension and stuff.
Okay,
but he,
gotcha,
You know, he's
gotcha.
one of those people that's like, "That's good for y'all, but for me, I'm gonna do."
Okay, gotcha,
You know,
gotcha.
but
Okay.
what about you? You were born and raised in Brooklyn.
Yes, I was.
Your mom's from Nigeria, right?
Both parents
Both parents are
from
from Nigeria.
Nigeria, yeah.
Okay, and so.
I don't know why I'm yellow either, if that's the question you was about to ask.
But what was it like for you growing up in like Brooklyn, and what was your upbringing like? What were the values you were taught and stuff? Because like I just mentioned, for me, it was all skewed. So from a young age, I'm like, I don't agree with y'all.
I'm
It's like,
very fascinated with this because I didn't know about the Black Republican stuff. So we'll get to it later. I'll probably make fun of you at another inopportune time.
good.
But so I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up so like every immigrant family does, they go to Flatbush. So my family initially was in East Flatbush.
Yeah.
I still remember 227 Linden Boulevard was our first address. And I actually recently visited that building, and you know these old pre-war buildings with the huge fucking lobbies and the elevators where you open the door to go in.
Yep.
And so that's where I grew up. That was where I was initially, and then we moved to East New York, which is the hood.
Yep.
And
Not so much anymore.
Still.
I mean, it's still rough, but it's
It's I mean
There's more and
nothing in city limits is like the rough
Yeah.
anymore outside of the Bronx, really, because the Bronx there's
It's never gonna
there's
change.
nothing you can do about that.
Never gonna-
There's nothing you can do about the Bronx.
even when you go up to Yankee Stadium, you're like, yo.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I was at Yankee Stadium in May, and I was like, all right, this
You
Ford-
can't wait to get on that green line
this
again.
Ford Trade situation is rough.
Yeah. And that's-
Thankfully, I was with people. It was late at night. I was with some big guys. So, but yeah, no, we wouldn't have ridden up to Yankee Stadium.
Oh, wow, like all the people hanging out by that McDonald's near the stadium, you're like, oh, no one in the Bronx works. But I'm gonna get fucked up. I'm in the Bronx a lot. I'm in the Bronx a
That's your
lot.
Republican grandparents right there. Super out.
Well, ironically, my grandfather now lives in the Bronx.
Oh, really?
In assisted living
Where
place.
does he live in? Like the Bronx stuff?
Yeah, kind of
Okay,
like
gotcha.
it's right behind his facility. It's like beautiful homes and Italian families.
Yeah,
and
from
shit.
what I understand, the Bronx has like the best like real Italian restaurants, but they don't let people like us in.
No. Or they do, and then, that food ain't gonna be.
Yeah, or we like I don't know. We've paid off somebody. We buying Rolls Royces from their dealerships or whatever.
Or
I
we
don't
used to
know.
like work, our family is connected because of Bumpy Johnson or
Yeah.
something like that.
I was about
Some
to say-
shit.
I was about to say, like in Goodfellas, we the Sam Jackson
Oh.
character who fucked up and
Yeah.
left the truck available for.
They all fucked up. Like I was just like, you gonna single him out? Anyways, so born and raised in Brooklyn.
I grew up in East New York, and I was in East New York from 91. My sister is born 91, so maybe like 92
Okay.
until 2005. Yeah, so
Okay.
I was there from like when I was like 4 or 5 until I was a senior in high school.
And what kind of schools did you go to? We were talking a little bit about before we recorded.
Yeah. So I was in a program called Prep for Prep.
Okay.
So basically, this is crazy. So I remember this clearly. When we lived at 227 Linden Boulevard, it was, East Flatbush was very West Indian. So we went to, me and my brother, the Haitian American Daycare Center number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3. I don't know where 1 and 2
Okay.
was. Well, we was at number 3.
Do you know if there was a 1 and 2? Because
I
that'd be
don't
fucking
know.
hilarious.
I have no idea.
I always was
actually.
fascinated with shit like that, where people were like there was like what was Ludacris's album called Back for the First Time or some shit.
It was like, what's the?
I'm always fascinated by
what's
like,
the first time?
or just like, oh, something number 2, and you're like, was there a first one? No, and they're like, all right,
I don't know.
okay.
And now I'm very
Was there a
curious.
4 or anything
I
after
have
that?
no idea, and now I'm very curious.
Okay.
My brother's 2 years older than I am.
Okay.
So my father got into a car accident when I was in kindergarten at the Haitian American Daycare Center number 3. And so he found religion again. My family is
Okay.
Muslim in Nigeria, Yoruba
Okay.
Muslim. And so my father found religion again. My Yoruba name is Adebimpe. It's my middle name. And so I was going by Bimpe my whole life up until then. And then all of a sudden, my father gets into a car accident, finds God. Now I'm Rafat. And then he sends me to a Muslim school in Queens.
Wow.
So me and my brother went to elementary school for a few years at a Muslim Iraqi Shiite school in Queens. We were Sunni. Most Muslims in the world are Sunni.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was there maybe 1st through 3rd grade. Yeah, I was there 1st through 3rd grade. Had to wear hijab to school every day.
Yeah.
I studied Urdu there. I learned Quran there. I was pretty, I wouldn't say fluent, but, you know, as conversational as an 8-year-old can be in Arabic, learning it in elementary school.
So I got to ask, because I remember what they used to do during Black History Month when I was in grade school, but they did nothing. No, okay.
I'm light-skinned. My brother's very dark-skinned.
Oh, okay.
And my brother had a very, like, unpleasant, he said they were so mean and racist to him. And they weren't to me, but they were mean to me because I'm a girl. I don't mean that to be like, you know, Islamophobic or whatever. But they wasn't kind to me. No, because like I was like I've always been like, I wouldn't say like the greatest student because my work ethic is terrible, but I've always been like a quick learner. So I was like. When you hear like, you know, like if you watch like TV shows that are racist about the Middle East, you'll hear like Quranic reading that sounds like sing-songy. It's called tartil. Tartil, I think is the pronunciation. It's been a while. So I was doing that. I was very good at it. I had Arabic down pretty well. But they started to discourage me from like practicing it pretty regularly because I was a girl. So, so yeah. Like,
and so after that school, like, what happened?
My parents couldn't afford it anymore. It was a private school. It cost a lot of money. They wasn't giving our Negro self scholarships. So then I went to public school. My siblings went to public school. My sister is 4 years younger than I, so she never went to that Muslim school. Yeah, my brother went to public school. I went to public school. I went to PS 159 in East New York. And then I was in this program called Prep. It's like a program that sort of like prepares you, preparation for preparatory schools, Prep. So I was in a 14-month program from like summer after 5th grade to summer after 6th grade. And then I was placed in this like artsy-fartsy private school in 7th grade. So I was at St. Anne's in Brooklyn Heights from 7th grade on.
On to high school.
Yeah.
What did you show like a creative side when you were younger, or like was it like through like testing where they were like, oh, like the results of this test show that, you know, Rae's skillful and creative? Like, how did they place you in that?
I don't want to be inaccurate, but I think they do like assessment tests if you're qualified in whatever ways, your IQs, that sort of thing. They know what works, generally speaking, for students, and so I think I only applied, and they don't even like let you apply the way that you would apply to college, right? Yeah. They would be like, hey, your kid would probably do well in this school. Yeah. Here are a series of schools that we think you should apply to and whatever. And there was a school around the corner called Packard Collegiate that I didn't get into, if I remember correctly, and so then I got into St. Anne's, and I'm so grateful. I think St. Anne's has so much to do with my personality and my like taste development and like who I've become as a person. It was great. You know, small school. I think, you know, my graduating high school class had 75 people. Okay, that's close to mine. That's close to mine. Yeah, I went to like what would be considered a charter school in Ann Arbor at this point. How do we feel politically about that? You come from Reagan Republicans. I mean, I'm pretty anti-charter school. Well, like my mom's the one that pushed me to go to the school. I didn't want to go. I ended up actually around sophomore year, there was an option to be able to take classes at the big school. And I took that as soon as I could. That's where I did like theater. That's where I started doing sketch comedy. Gotcha. Stand up, because I was like, this ain't. You started early. Well, because I was just like, I need an outlet, and you know, I don't know what the makeup was at your school, but at community high school, I was always like one out of two other black kids in the class. Okay. And it was very obvious. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And I was like, at least I could be at a bigger school and maybe have other opportunities, do some other shit. Like I could be a little bit more under the radar.
versus having the spotlight on
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
Because even when you're like, even when no one gives a fuck about you, they can still see.
They can
you
see
know what
you.
I mean?
You're very easy to pick on if
Yeah.
you stand out physically.
Yeah, and I was also easy to pick on too because I wasn't a normal like traditional black kid
Yeah.
or like what the media would show. That's why for a long time I didn't fuck with the Chappelle Show. Because let me explain. I went to school with a lot of white kids, and Chappelle later on would talk about like what was happening when he was making the show and white people laughing at
You
him
buy it?
and not with him.
You buy it? I
But
don't buy it so much anymore.
but the Nigger Family sketch
oh, that was hard.
when that came out,
That's hard.
it was really hard.
Yeah.
Like because white kids were just saying it, and it's like me against everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like I can only check so many people before
Gotcha.
I have to like try to fight everybody. And so
Gotcha.
that-
I had
that's
the
hard.
luxury of growing up in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So, like, actually, I was talking to my therapist about this morning because I went
Shout to therapy.
Shout out to therapy. It's amazing. Go get it. I went to Princeton for school before I dropped out. And, like, I was talking to my therapist about how, like, Princeton taught me that I was black in a different kind of way. Because, you know, New York, white people, especially at this, like, artsy private school I was at with predominantly Jewish people who loved hip-hop. I mean, like, one of the Beastie Boys went to my high school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a different
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah.
Like, it's a different vibe from even other New York private schools. That's why I'm so grateful I went to this one. I'm so grateful I got placed there because I could have gone to, like, Trinity or, like, a Horace Mann or, you know, I couldn't have. They wouldn't have accepted me.
St. Francis Prep or
Yes,
some shit.
some shit like that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Gossip Girl type school,
Yeah.
right? But I went to a Brooklyn private school. It was like Brooklyn Jewish people. Everybody's parent was like I'm trying to think, like Ava Murray, who's like Susan Sarandon's daughter. She went to my high school.
Oh, yeah.
Or like Dan Aykroyd's daughter. Her name was Danielle Aykroyd.
For real?
Yes.
Oh, that's-
for real.
that's a nightmare.
And looked exactly like him.
Oh no, she did not have a good time.
No, she was actually very
She did?
popular. She was really cool.
Oh wow.
She was
okay.
really cool. She used to. No, she's not ugly. She just looks like her father.
Okay.
But she's not like ugly. No. She just looks like you're like, oh, she's related to Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
Her name's Danielle.
Yeah,
Aykroyd.
yeah, it's wild. That's
but she
crazy.
had like, I remember she had like green hair and she was, you know.
I mean, that just opens her up to jokes. She had green hair. I'd be like, did you get
that's
slime?
the kind of thing that St. Anne's.
Oh, okay.
Like we were like, it was such a no dress code. We called teachers by first names.
Wow. So we went to similar schools then. So what did
But
they?
in New York,
Yeah.
they wasn't racist.
I know.
That's all. You know.
Well, so how did they go about teaching Black history then?
There
like-
wasn't.
So there wasn't any like real like focused
No, there
curriculum
wasn't.
or anything
Like,
that. Like during holidays.
if I remember
seasons
correctly, there was like, oh, okay, it's Black History Month, and you know, like, oh, we did Martin Luther King Day or whatever, but there wasn't like a focused
Got it.
thing on it. No.
Okay.
No, but I also think too that like, especially in Brooklyn, so many of the Black people in Brooklyn are immigrants, first generation or second, or whatever. So you're probably getting like, because I remember in my public school, I definitely remember Puerto Rico Discovery Day, but I don't think I really remember too many like. I mean, Black History Month was celebrated, but I don't think I remember like things standing out. But Puerto
Got
Rico
it.
Discovery Day certainly stands out to me for some reason. I
Well,
don't
because
know
of the
why.
parties.
I
The parties in the
remember.
Pernil. I get
Yeah,
it.
we was drinking horchata or whatever. No, we weren't. Oh my god, that would be so illegal. But yeah, like so it's interesting because my high school for the most part was not racist. So I didn't have to like confront my Black identity really.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was cognizant of being Black, but I felt Nigerian. And I know that a lot of ADOS people hate Nigerians. So I don't mean it in the way that they hate. I just mean that like I was kind of moving through life. Like,
Got it.
okay, I was going home, I was eating, you know, eba and pounded yam and stew and all that. And then I was going to school and I was being myself. There was
Yeah.
not like a cogs.
You didn't feel restrained or like.
No,
anything
it
like
was
that.
kind of
Yeah.
just like, all right, well, I took the A train and then after Nostrand Avenue, all the white people got on the train and then that was it. That was what Blackness was to me. I was myself. Nobody pressured me. I think like when I first got to my private school, you know, this always happens. And it's actually very fascinating to me because I see a lot of people do it as grown-ups that I I'm like, I did this in 6th grade, 7th grade. It's so funny. But, like, you'll see, like, black people who are suddenly thrust into super white environments, so they're overperforming blackness. And they're like,
Yep.
Hey, all you white people catch these hands. And, you know. And I did that when I was 11, 12, when I went to St. Anne. So I had that initial...
Okay.
I had that initial transition period because it is culture shock. Even if you're not thinking about your race cognizantly, like all of a sudden, if you go to school every day and everybody's black around you or Arab before that, and you go to school, everybody's stark white, and they all having bar and bat mitzvahs they invited you to, and you sitting here like, yo, I still got to get on the A train though. Like, those were the kinds of like engagements with race I was having. I wasn't having a like learn your Black American history kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So to that, so I'm curious about what exposure you had to learning about people like the subject we're going to talk about, right? Like, did you just go like
it would
through
be
life
like,
just learning about people?
Yeah, like you like if Oprah's on TV all the time, you're gonna hear about Maya Angelou, right? You know, that's the kind of thing. Or like if Toni Braxton's on TV, well, we're gonna hear a Toni Braxton song. You know,
and you're gonna learn about her whole family.
Yes. Well, that for me didn't even come until I saw the TV show.
Oh, okay.
So like, I would say that like my Black history, God forgive me, my Black history up until I was like, in high school, my Black history was like television and like my parents letting me be around people in my neighborhood or people at my mosque or whatever who are also Nigerian. But like my Black history was like popular media and friends in the neighborhood.
Well, speaking of that, you know, your subject, Max Robinson, was the first Black, first African American to be on broadcast news as an anchor. Yep. First, why did you choose this subject? And I want to talk about like what it must have been like seeing something like that at the time on the news.
Well, I think I'm younger than he was around.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm trying to think of if there was like Black news anchors when I was a kid.
We had Brian Gumble, right?
I didn't have cable until I was 13.
Oh, okay. We had who was the? Oh, you didn't have cable, so you didn't know any of the MTV BJs.
Downtown Julie Brown, Ananda Lewis.
I know Ananda Lewis.
Who's the one with the like biracial light skin looking one with the curl? Someone with a Q. No, come on. Don't play me like I'm stupid. I know AJ and Free. I had cable after I was 13.
Did you? Okay, I don't want to go too sidetracked, but when Free got fired, remember?
Yes.
That was wild. And AJ was on the phone with her.
I didn't.
That was crazy.
I don't remember that specific incident, but I do remember like not being clear on why they got rid of them.
Oh yeah, that was wild. Yeah.
They didn't age out for me, and in retrospect, they killed the brand by bringing in new people. They messed up real bad. Yeah. And I'm also so disappointed. Where's Free been? Because AJ is doing fine. He's on ET Entertainment Tonight. Yeah. He cut off the dreads, I think.
Yes.
You know, got bougie. I remember the last time I saw him. I think I saw him in like a velvet tuxedo. Is the last time I saw AJ. What's Free up to? The last time I saw Free, she was rapping on that Fighting Temptation soundtrack.
Oh.
I'm just fighting.
And that came out a long time.
Yeah, I think I was in high school.
Fighting Temptations, but Beyonce, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Beyonce had a couple of bangers on that album? On that soundtrack. Yeah. I think that might have been the era where like soundtracks finally died. I don't know. Do we still get good? I think Black Panther had a
Black Panther.
Soundtrack.
And then there was another movie that recently came out with a good. This Across the Spider-Verse. The Metro Boomin one.
There's no way I was watching or listening to that soundtrack.
Oh my God. That's one of my favorite movies.
I'm not a superhero person.
That's just animated film wise.
No, I'm not an animated film
Okay,
person.
well, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm very uncool.
I think you're very cool. That didn't sound cool me saying.
Yeah, you are. But
so Max Robinson.
I didn't know
all
him.
the white people.
All these white people. Peter Jennings. Okay, my mom loved Peter Jennings.
Okay.
So I remember Peter Jennings from growing up.
Yeah. But he was the last one standing.
Yeah,
for a while.
Because the other one died, right?
Yeah, Frank.
Frank something Robinson? No, Max Robinson.
Frank.
Reynolds.
Reynolds, yes.
So I didn't see these guys. But Peter Jennings, who's obviously significantly younger than these two. I don't know. Black don't crack, so I have no idea about the age difference here.
Yeah, I mean he was working for a long time.
Yeah,
like he died young. He died at like 48.
He did die young.
Yeah, but
if he
worked
died
for a long time.
if he died at around 48 in 88, then he was significantly older than Peter Jennings.
Yes. Yeah.
Peter Jennings was around my whole life. My family was an ABC News family. We occasionally dipped into NBC News, but we were an ABC News family, so we liked Peter Jennings. And actually, the reason I was curious about Max Robinson is because, you know, you have your standard, like, entertainment folks, or, you know, like, the people that they put on cards or, like, TV specials and things. Yeah. I truly had never heard of him.
Same.
And I don't know, I think being the first, like, national TV black anchor is like a very interesting thing.
Well, ABC too, yeah.
On
that's
ABC,
huge.
well, because I think about this all the time. I was talking to my friend about this the other day, because I was thinking about Gregory Hines, because Gregory Hines' brother died a couple months back, maybe a month and a half or two back. First of all, I didn't even know Gregory Hines' brother was still alive, but when you think about it, Gregory Hines died relatively young if we're thinking about, like, black legends and stuff. But I was thinking about this because Gregory Hines is so legendary, but his family's legendary. And his parents are like vaudeville, kind of like old school stage performers. And I know that so much of art in general, but in particular black American art and the way that it is so like impactful worldwide, and the richness of the history is so much about like succeeding and exceeding in spite of. And I'm always very curious about the first black, in particular American, somebody to do something, because where did you get the self-esteem to try?
Yeah.
I think about that often. Like, so I was thinking about it with Gregory Hines and like his family, because it's one thing to succeed in black spaces, right? You have your cotton clubs, you have all your segregated places in the South, you have all your Chitlin Circuit venues. But what makes you bold enough to be like, I'm so fucking good at this thing, and I want to be so recognized for being so good at this thing, that white people will throw shit at me when I try to do it, and I'm going to do it anyway. So, like, your Jackie Robinsons, you're like, I'm always just like, what is it in you that makes you desire to be a pioneer outside of your passion for the art or whatever thing you do that's good at expressing yourself? There are plenty of artists who could have been great if they had had the wherewithal or the stick-to-itiveness to like navigate white spaces so that they could cross over and be big. But not everybody does it. No. So what makes you a Max Robinson? What makes you a Jackie Robinson? Oh, isn't that interesting? Those last names. And like, so I'm just like, you know, that was why I was very attracted to this story. Just kind of like, why in particular entertainment do you choose to be the guy?
Well, I mean, I think you have to have a certain level of like confidence and arrogance, you know, and it sounded
definitely arrogant.
Yeah, and it sounded like he was kind of like, at some points, I don't give a fuck. You know, when he got the first anchor, when they were actively hiring, they were saying whites only anchors, and he still got it because he had such a good voice. Yes. But then they were like, and that was in Virginia. Yes. In like 1948, like 50 something. And wasn't it like they would cover his face?
No, they literally put a sliding door. They were like, you have to read the news behind this curtain, my guy. It's just like, look, we are going to hire you, but we're going to find a way to segregate you at your job. And it's just like crazy. Can you imagine? I would be so hurt. Like, if my whole family got segregated with me, or if I had, like, someone to be segregated with me, it was like, okay, well, we niggas back here together. It might feel better. But you show up to your job, you the only person they putting in a box.
And you know what sucks, too, is because he's light-skinned. So probably if they could see his hands. They didn't think he was a black guy.
They were like, we still gotta hide.
They might be like, oh, he might be Sicilian.
But I love that. Here's the thing. I know this is gonna sound terrible, but I don't mean it terribly. I also love when people who can pass, or like people who can enjoy privileges, don't choose to. So yeah, he's light skinned. He looks very Jack and Jill to me. You know, like,
not that nose though.
The nose is Jack and Jill because the mustache is doing all the work.
Oh
He's
yeah,
still
he got the
elegant.
Cleveland Brown mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Don't he look like his father owned salons on the single wealthy black street in a southern town?
He definitely looks like he could be the owner of S Curl.
Yes.
He's like, I will do it myself, but
Ooh, Eric LaSalle, motherfucker.
yeah.
Like I don't know. So I just find that I am astounded at the arrogance, and I mean astounded in a great way. Like I'm very impressed at someone who, and look, he's a college dropout. He's a military man.
Went to Oberlin College.
Yes, he doesn't have the resume, quote unquote, the resume of somebody who's going to infiltrate something like a newsroom. There are plenty of people who don't come from backgrounds that you would expect that are able to make it in entertainment or music or whatever. But for someone to like break barriers in a quote unquote intellectual academic space and not be from academia and be the first black at his level, I mean, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I mean,
and not a sellout is the thing, because
he was very pro-black.
Yeah.
He was always advocating for talking about the black experience.
Yeah.
He won a lot of awards,
exactly,
documenting the black experience in America.
I was very curious about this because there's a Bostonian guy, I can't remember his name. And the reason I found him was because I was watching that documentary on HBO Max that came out recently about the white guy who killed his wife and faked a robbery, and then the Boston police raided black neighborhoods and arrested a black guy for it. Yeah. And then the guy finally was getting caught after the Boston police had abused so many black people. This was in the 80s. I can't remember the name.
Of course.
Her name was Susan something is the name of the victim. And the guy ended up killing himself because his little brother kind of started to sell him out. And he killed himself, so he couldn't even be prosecuted. But the Boston police had destroyed that man's life. And in the process of pinning the crime on this young black man, there were three news anchors who were like really part of convincing the Bostonian public that this guy was guilty and deserving of the abuse that he got. One of them was a black news anchor. And then I looked into him. Republican, white wife, from, and then, Lester Holt, big deal, right? White wife, Republican, his son is a terrorist. Not terrorist. That's not nice, because terrorist, when you talk about a news anchor, could get dicey. I just mean but it's just not a great guy. People who seem to me to be like actively rejecting certain parts of blackness or whatever. So I was like really thrilled to discover that this man wore his afro on national TV in the 80s. And
he was a bad motherfucker.
Beverly Hamilton was a shorty. Like, I was like, he just...
I mean, he had a few shorties, apparently.
I mean, a lot of shorties.
Yeah.
His demise were shorties. But, I am always really excited when, in particular, so I know the statistics don't reflect this, because it is true that black men mostly marry black women regardless of socioeconomic class or whatever in the United States. But when you look at the entertainment industry, which is where most black people in America acquire wealth if they are wealthy, especially in this day and age, you have the NBA players with Kardashian lookalikes. You have NFL players, they don't even look at black shorties after they get to college. Like, so it's like, when you have like visible black men who are probably the only black people in their white spaces, like actively engaged with their blackness, whether it be through their partners or just like their charitable endeavors or what they do in their social lives visibly. Like, if a guy is doing what he was doing, it's kind of cool to me. So that's why I wanted to like hear about him.
And he was pro-black to the end. I mean, he was out of the public eye after he had retired. Well, like had left, newscasting and stuff. And like, wasn't like one of his last appearances, he was giving a speech at HBCU. Like,
yes.
And then but he noticeably became sick during that, and then was in the hospital for the rest of his days and stuff.
And like, I'm sure there are conspiracy theories. I'm sure Dr. Umar got a bunch of stories about why this black man is dead. But
well, I mean, he did die of AIDS.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be a conspircy. Exactly. Isn't there a conspiracy about Eazy-E?
regarding, I mean,
His death.
well, yeah, but like what?
Well, so
that the government took him out?
oh my God, this is terrible. This is why, like, I'm
We gotta be
trash.
careful because they always listen.
Yeah,
They
I know.
always listen.
I watch
know.
trash reality TV. That's the embarrassment
Oh,
part,
God.
not about the
I mean, I
government.
do too. That's,
There's a show called Growing Up Hip Hop.
yes, I know that show. Yeah.
And Eazy-E Jr. is
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
show. So he and his sister had like a storyline where they just didn't believe that their dad died of AIDS.
Well, they needed a story.
They thought he was killed. they think he was killed.
Mm.
And I just, what's funny to me is if you said the government killed a Max Robinson, I would buy it. But you cannot convince me that the government is taking out rappers because rappers are taking each other
That's
out.
what I was gonna say. If
Why
anyone
would
took
the
out
government-
Eazy-E,
yeah.
it was either Dre or Suge Knight.
Or Ice
And
Cube.
now- Yeah, maybe, but
Ice Cube was a
I would
private
say
school kid
Suge.
too, right?
Well, Suge took out everybody. I'm
took
convinced that Suge took out everybody with the Tupac Biggie thing. I think he.
I
took
don't
out,
think he took out Tupac. Since allegedly, I think Diddy did that one.
Ooh.
Okay,
Interesting.
I watch a lot of Vlad TV. God forgive me. I'm telling so much about the truth of myself right now. I watch so much. Like I love the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I was in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's right.
A very lonely time in my life. Los Angeles was the worst place ever. It was very isolating.
It's a very lonely place.
It's very isolating. You were lucky enough to have a
I lived
wife.
out there. Well, my wife wasn't with me for the
Oh,
first.
shit.
When I was out there for a year and a half, for the first 6 months, my wife wasn't there with me, and I was living in a studio apartment, and I was losing my mind.
That's literally my.
I lived at the studio.
I
I
lived
lived
in
at the Universal Studios the whole time.
Okay, truly, I lived in a studio apartment and I went to and from work. That was it.
Mm.
And I wasn't even getting to do stand up like that because LA's not really a stand up town, and I'm not a good networker. If
You have to know people,
If I
you
got to
have to
schmooze,
schmooze,
I
yeah.
ain't doing it. So I found LA to be very isolated, and that's actually where my drinking got a little out of control. Why did I bring up LA? What was happening?
We were talking about LA rappers. and-
Oh, got it. Great. So during the pandemic, I started watching a lot of shit on YouTube. I got very into YouTube on, no, I'm not red pilled, don't worry. But I started watching a lot on YouTube, and I'm a Brooklyn girl, so I love rap. I love hip hop, whatever. So I started paying attention to like drill rap, Brooklyn drill rap, Bronx drill rap. And then the drill rap started to expand to other cities. So then I started watching Chicago drill rap, whatever. Okay, why I completely forgot why we were talking about it.
It's okay. We've been having these non-alcoholic beers. Cheers to that.
No, I took an ADHD test today, so I was like, Anyway, so so I was like watching a lot of like drill rap stuff. Look, I don't remember, so it's all right.
It's okay.
Do any of y'all remember what we was talking about? Oh,
Eazy-E and the conspiracy and stuff, but you were just talking about his kids.
there we go. Who killed Tupac? So I got very into like drill rap and stuff like that, and so then I started watching Vlad TV and shit. Oh God, forgive me. I started watching Vlad TV, and Vlad TV was very, very interested in the murder of Tupac because Tupac is his favorite rapper. He's from Oakland, whatever, and the guy who got arrested for murdering Tupac this year or last year, Keefe D, this nigga was out here doing interviews confessing to the crime for like 5 years on like Vlad TV.
Yep.
On
He's been talking about for a while. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he published a book. First of all, I don't even think he made money from the book. Honest to God, because he told everything in the book on Vlad TV interviews. There's no way he sold copies of this book because everything he did was for like.
They probably got bootlegged anyway.
Probably, that's true. The same place that you could get the R. Kelly sex tape is the same tables out front of the train stations where you could probably buy this book. But like honestly, this guy, Keefe D, he was out here like.
Just talking about it.
Yeah, so there's no way that you can convince me that the government had anything to do with Tupac. Sometimes niggas be in shit with niggas. Yeah. And I think we need to stop that.
Well, that's why, like, you were talking about with Max, like, there's, like, could have been some rumors about how he actually contracted AIDS and stuff, but for the most part, it sounded like he was just fucking a
out
lot
here.
of women
I
and
think
stuff. He had 3 different baby mamas. He was married 3 times.
3 times.
And yeah, so there were baby mamas.
And he divorced like 3 years before he died.
Yep.
And so then I was like, well, how quickly did his AIDS accelerate? Because 3 years before you die, you divorce shorty. I mean, sure, marriages die way before you file paperwork.
But it's also if he was drinking, because he was known to drink.
Oh, okay. Then
so, like,
his immune system was weaker.
you can compromise your health pretty.
Okay.
And also, if he was isolating himself, we don't quite, like, in the research I could find, wasn't quite clear why he, like, kind of had gotten out of the light. I'm sure he was just tired of being, you know, out here. Because, you know, when you're on nightly news all the time, like you said, like, your family was seeing Peter Jennings and shit. I'm sure so many people from that generation were familiar with him. But that's also probably why he was fucking a lot.
Yeah, well, okay.
Because think about all the young women that were like, I used to watch you every night on news. And he's like, ha ha, yeah, you did.
Like, and now you can suck my dick.
Yeah, I will show you my news now.
Okay, have you hooked up with someone famous before?
Not really.
Okay.
Like, they were like, they ended up being like D-listers.
Okay, were
like
they
on a reality show
when you fucked them?
No.
Okay. So you've never hooked up with someone who was like...
No, I've been with my girl for a long time.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah. Could have. I'll tell you off the line who I could have hooked up with in LA if I wanted to.
Okay.
But I was like, this ain't what I want to do.
Okay.
At all.
Okay. At all.
I'll tell you.
All right. I'm very curious now. As someone who was a slut until 5 minutes ago, I will say it's like... It is so It's like, it's so embarrassing how quickly someone who is good at their job will make you, like, drop your panties. It's, like...
Oh, wow.
Like, as someone who is particularly ambitious myself, if there is a man who is good at a thing that I wish I were good at or am good at, but they're better than me at it, oh, my God, you can get the draws.
I will say when I first, I think when we first started getting to know each other in the comedy scene, when I was producing all those shows and like I was out here hustling and stuff, that got kind of crazy, but I already had my girls, so
but people
there were times where she was like, I'm gonna fuck this person up. What? They're a fan. She's like, I'm gonna fuck her up. It's pretty wild.
Well, I'm low-key jealous because actually I feel like women stand-ups don't get much access, or maybe I'm a dweeb and nobody hollers at me, but no, I don't get.
Y'all have a rough because it's like men who are not in comedy can be intimidated by that. Yeah. I've seen that happen, and then men who are in comedy are usually fucking assholes. So they're like, I want to be with someone who may be funnier than me too. Like that's a whole.
Well, so yes, the thing is, Ashley, I find that like. So I would have totally smashed Max Robinson because we don't.
Look at him. He would have smashed you too.
Oh yeah, look. We would have been lanky and yellow together. It would have been amazing. But so he looks like he knows what he's talking about. I'd have listened. I'm really attracted to very like intellectual black men. Like I like a lanky black man who knows what he's talking about.
But do you also like kind of like someone who's secretly low key, kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Because. There's that story about he like apparently went out on his balcony and shot his gun. And he was like hammered, but he was like, "Oh, my dad just passed away."
And everyone was like, "Fine."
Yeah, he didn't get arrested
for it. Black man who don't go to jail. I'm into it.
Yeah, just shoot the gun.
Like I'm trying to think like the perfect like the perfect man for me is like a. Right, like just like
oh wow, okay,
like hyper intellectual, but like very pop culturally aware, very like musically inclined, pop culture inclined, fun. That he kind of gives me that vibe. That like it's like that kind of guy, right? Just cool and like knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he seems like a guy who would listen to like Temptations and Bob Dylan all in the same hour.
Yes, and we're gonna have the conversation about it. Yeah. And then I'm gonna be like, well, I'm a Jay-Z stan. He's gonna be like, I get it, but here's the Kendrick album, and then I just go, okay, fine, fuck it, whatever. But like, look at him. That's a good black man nose.
And he's so confident.
Yes. Look at him. His carriage is nice.
And people liked him so much when the Hanafi Muslims had those hostages back in like the...
What country was that?
I wasn't around back then, but apparently it was a huge
83?
news story, and they will only talk to him.
He's the guy.
He was the guy that they
Which is
talked
so
to.
interesting to me because Arabs don't like Asifa.
Yep.
And I know that from my Muslim school.
Did we mention though when he was working in Virginia when they had the block over him that he finally like made them take it off? Like he convinced somebody in the booth or whatever to take it off so they could show that he was black.
Convinced.
Yeah, and then
Well,
you think they set him up?
How do you think we convinced?
Well, I don't know.
He dicked his boss down. That's what happened.
You think he fucked his
Listen,
boss?
man, you could convince
He fucked the boss
and
and was like, "You gonna show my face tomorrow?
exactly.
You gonna show my face?"
I don't know. Listen, after that Jerry Falwell Jr. documentary, I don't know what kind of shit people are into. You could convince anybody to do anything.
That's
with
true.
it.
I was thinking he just slipped somebody a few bucks and be like, "They're gonna finally show my face." Or something. You thinking a black man's currency is his dick? You just like, I'm just slinging this dick around. I'm gonna get this camera.
No, not a black.
Because he got fired.
This
so
man,
it's like,
because I desire him.
Okay.
I'm assuming everyone else did.
I thought you were trying to allude that it was a conspiracy that he got fired because he got fired immediately after that. Once they showed he was a black dude, they were like, well, now you can't do this. But then he ended up going to the.
No, I think he got fired because he smashed somebody's wife. That's what we think. Listen, there was a cuck situation. I'm convinced.
But then he ended up going to Eyewitness News.
Yes, Eyewitness News. Which Eyewitness? Did you have Eyewitness News like outside of?
We had all that shit. We had.
Okay,
ABC,
so I thought
Eyewitness.
I thought Eyewitness News was a New York thing.
Nah, that's global.
Okay,
well, at least in the United States, that was the thing.
Okay, so what happens is it's like from 5 to 6, and then 6 to 6:30 is Eyewitness News. So on ABC is Eyewitness News, News 7. And then after that is ABC World News, which is where we got Peter Jennings. Peter Jennings. I just pronounce his name like that because my mom does. Peter Jennings.
That's hilarious.
And so,
but that's how a lot of people learn English.
Yes.
Who are immigrants. They would watch the news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Seinfeld, apparently.
No, we were not a Seinfeld household. Am I allowed to admit that it doesn't do it for me?
The Seinfeld show, I've always been mixed in. My grandmother loved that shit. Super Nazi episode's the only episode I fucked with. Just because that dude was so mean, it was hilarious.
I don't think I made it there, to be honest. Yeah. I think, when you become a comedy fan, or when I started trying to do comedy, I started trying to watch all the greats. And I could not make it past, like, maybe episode 8 of the season 1 of Seinfeld.
It's interesting you mentioned that because when I was in high school, I watched Comedian, right? That's the documentary he did.
Yes.
With Orny Adams.
Yeah, where
I thought he was a dick.
On stage every day. I thought Orny was the weird one, though.
Well, Orny was the weird one, but I thought Jerry was an asshole. And from everything I've heard, if he doesn't like you, he's the meanest person in the world.
Well, I mean, I've never met him. I don't know anything about him. But, when you watch the, like, comedians in cars getting coffee stuff on Netflix, I will never forget, because I only watched one episode.
Okay.
I watched the Eddie Murphy episode. Because Eddie Murphy's my baby daddy in my head.
He's so great.
I love Eddie Murphy. I don't care.
He's the most charming person. Like, I've never met someone who's charming. Like, no matter what medium you watch him or listen.
It just drips through the screen. I also am like very, and have been since I was 13, very sexually attracted to Eddie Murphy as well. Like
I love how transparent you are. Like, I want to fuck him. Yeah, I want to fuck that. Yeah.
If you're a black man with money and you're skinny enough, I'll do it. I'll take you. I only care about skinny because I'm small. So, like, look, I need to be able to compete. You know what I'm saying?
You need to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah. Am I defending myself in the bedroom? Is that what I call it?
I don't know.
Throwing it back is called defending myself. Eddie Murphy, I can defend myself.
I'm a warrior. Jesus Christ.
Self-defense, indeed. But so in the episode of like comedians in cars getting coffee, I just specifically remember. I know the pandemic stopped it because remember when Eddie Murphy announced like right before the pandemic that he was gonna go do stand up, he's gonna do a special or whatever. He never did it. I'm so bummed out about it. But
SNL's the closest thing we're ever gonna get. When he did it, when he hosted it again.
40th
when he hosted it again. But even then, it was with. He brought a bunch of comedians on. So
he did. Yes, I remember he did the.
That's the closest we'll ever get to him.
He did the
Cosby. He did.
He did Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Yep. Yeah. I remember that.
Gumby and stuff. Yeah.
I actually did not think that episode was strong. I was actually disappointed because I thought he deserved better.
Okay.
I thought I thought I could be wrong. But I thought, like, if you have Eddie Murphy as your guest host, first of all, you probably have to book that way in advance. Like, he's not a last minute guy.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking you got to be writing your best sketches for months and you submit that to him. But from what I understand, he did a lot of like rewriting and stuff himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like his episode of comedians and getting cars, getting coffee, I remember distinctly, like, the reason I was like, what is Jerry Seinfeld doing? It felt like he was trying to get Eddie Murphy to say something that would get Eddie Murphy canceled. Like, I think he tried to I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Was he bringing up the old bits? Is that why?
No, he kept trying to, well, he was doing the thing which old white male comedians love to do, which is be like, you can't say anything anymore. And he kept trying to get Eddie Murphy to make fun of quote unquote midgets. And Eddie Murphy just like wouldn't bite. Like Eddie was
He's
not.
very good at
he
that.
was like, no.
He's very good at like not doing what you
he's
want
like,
him to
I've
do.
been making child-friendly movies since 1997, my guy. You're not gonna get me to
You're not
say the
gonna fuck
word
up my Dr.
midget.
Dolittle
Yeah,
money.
exactly. So it was just weird because it was like weird watching Jerry Seinfeld try to draw Eddie Murphy into saying something offensive, which is so funny because you juxtapose that with that clip of Chris Rock, Ricky Gervais,
and
Jerry
Louis C.K.
Seinfeld, Louis C.K., and those white dudes are saying N-words, and Jerry Seinfeld's like the only guy in the room being like, not gonna do it.
He's
So
saying,
like,
you're not gonna fuck up my residual money.
exactly. It's like, you're not gonna fuck up these Seinfeld residuals.
Y'all saw what happened to Kramer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why are you trying to get Eddie to fuck up Nutty Professor residuals when you
Conspiracy.
out here with it? Look.
Conspiracy.
Oh, here's my big on conspiracies. And going back to Bob Marley, there's the Bob Marley conspiracy
Yes, I know
too.
about that, yeah.
And there's my thing is like, okay, listen, sometimes niggas be dying, right? And that's okay. And then two, like, the government could just take you out. Like, why do we have to make up AIDS?
Oh, yeah.
Why do we have to do cancer in the case of Bob Marley? Like, if they want to take you, they'll just take you. And they'll justify it. So I just don't, I don't buy the, like, long-term illness conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I don't think anything conspiratorial happened with Max Robinson. I think that he, obviously there would be the theory that he maybe was bisexual.
Yeah, I was curious if he was
gay because of the AIDS diagnosis. But I think back then, given that, not saying that he wouldn't have otherwise, but Joe Jackson did the eulogy and he had a lot of like black political power supporting, like, and talking about his legacy. I think that they could have done a better job of upholding
Jesse Jackson.
Sorry. Did I say Joe Jackson?
Yeah, you did. And I was like, what did Michael Jackson have to do with this?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've been drinking too. But, imagine Joe Jackson like, now, when I wasn't getting my boys to do the two-top. This man, Max Robinson, was on the news.
Watch his brother fuck groupies.
Holy shit.
After I beat them. Don't you remember the movie?
Oh, yeah. Jackson 5, American Story. Everybody knows that.
Okay, we got to talk about this. Since we out here doing drunk black history.
Yes.
Because for me, that Jackson 5 movie is not a movie, it's a documentary. So I think everything that happened in that movie was true. Or the what is it?
It came out at a time.
TV movie series.
It came out at a time with both of us, our ages, where
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
see
we were
why.
like 3 or 4.
I can see why you would think that.
Yeah.
Because it felt like we were watching their life playing out. Like
Also.
I didn't see Angela Bassett. I saw
Catherine Jackson.
Jackson.
Also, mind you, is it Lawrence Hilton Jacobs who played Joe Jackson?
I think so.
Yes,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Cochise from Cooley High.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my nigga. That's another
Jason
old black
Weaver
man.
played young Michael.
Yes.
Yep.
That's another. He was playing with the rat, Ben.
Yep.
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs is another skinny black man. I would smash, no problem, anytime, any day of the week. He's probably like 75 now. He could get it today.
Okay.
Looking, father my child like Robert De Niro just fathered the child. Give it to me.
Okay.
Cochise.
So, just to wrap this
You
up.
like?
To wrap this up.
I'm not. You don't think Ike Turner is sexy?
No.
No, the movie Ike Turner.
Oh, Lawrence Fishburne, Ike Turner?
That's Fishburne or Hilton Jacobs?
That's a Fishburne.
Fishburne is Ike Turner.
Yes.
Cochise is Joe
Jackson,
Jackson.
yes.
Okay, good. But also, Ike Turner in that movie is sexy too.
Well, I mean, but he
Because they're not the real ones.
You know what's so wild? We're going down. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole about that movie, but that rape scene was like made
Crazy.
up.
Oh, it's made up.
Mm-hmm. They just put it. It's weird, but
No. Maybe I'm hearing you.
yeah,
Maybe that specific rape scene
didn't happen
was
like
made
that.
up,
But yeah,
I don't. It's not far fetched for me to believe
Yeah,
a
he
nigga moving
sexually
like
assaulted,
that.
yeah, for sure.
And I also don't think she would have allowed that in the movie if it was so far fetched.
yeah. I'm curious how much
Creative
license they
control
actually
she had?
had. Yeah, both of them in a way, but.
Oh yeah, because he didn't die until like 2005 or something like that.
Because I'd be curious if they did a biopic on Max Robinson, which unfortunately I don't think they would because
He's not
one,
famous enough. I don't.
not
think.
famous enough. People don't care about journalism anymore, and
I don't know.
or they don't believe in it anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I think
social media
especially
has
Americans
destroyed,
don't believe in journalism.
But I mean, what was that movie? Was it Spotlight? They won an Oscar.
Yeah, but that was about a
reporting.
specific thing. That was about the church. That was about white people in Boston and like.
Yeah, it has to be about white people. White
Yeah.
people, it's like, I know like this is me stating the obvious, but white people really don't care about stuff that has nothing to do with them.
No, not at all.
Occasionally I get reminded because like there'll be things that are just so important to me, and like a white person will just have never heard of it.
I'm in the process of writing a script that I've been soft pitching at a lot of like general meetings, right? All the ones that were with black executives, they're like, I want first look on that shit.
Okay.
All the white execs were like, oh,
Okay.
that sounds
Yeah.
cool.
I was thinking about that because
Like they just don't get it. And they don't care to get it.
That's the thing, because I was thinking about that because I was just like, because I'm a Jay-Z stan, and I had to reconcile with why his speech at the Grammys was so off-putting to me, and whether or not like I had just sort of like accepted.
He's not great at public speaking.
Nigga, you knew you was getting that speech. Why didn't you prepare something?
They were all, yeah.
You put Blue Ivy in a fucking gown, nigga. You knew there was an occasion.
Yeah.
Write something. But for me, I think what I was like, Jay-Z's politics are very complicated. I have a very, complicated relationship to his like social justice and stuff, particularly post Barclays Center, Brooklyn. But I was sitting here being like, nigga, why do you care? And then I was like, oh yeah, like, it is a stamp that affects your financial access and your ability to establish and, consolidate power.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you do need these white stamps of approval. And also, there's nothing you could do about it because they won't give it to you because they won't pay attention. Yeah. And, like, he's, like, on stage whining about Beyonce not winning Album of the Year, but also, like, Beyonce should have won Album of the Year, and she's just not going to because there's that Academy is probably like 70-80% white, and they're just not gonna listen. And then you think about
they're not gonna listen to the whole album.
Yeah. And then you think about The Color Purple, right? And you can say whatever you want about whether or not Taraji's conversation about the pay gap and conditions on set discouraged people from watching a movie. I know it discouraged my black sister from watching a movie until I paid for the tickets. But then, like, also, the movie was only gonna make a certain amount of money because that is a movie that targets specifically black women. Yeah. There's only like 15 million of us in the United States, right? And then you think about like, well, does Taraji have a point? Like, yeah, Taraji can't open a big box office, right? But also like, white people don't want to go see Taraji, and that's not Taraji's fault that she's black. And then, you have like this like back and forth, and I think about a guy like Max Robinson. They would never have introduced him by himself. He had to have
the two
rotating guys. Peter Jennings,
and they all had to be guys,
and they all had to be men. Peter Jennings is a fucking Canadian who was 10 years his junior. How? Yeah. How even? And so then you again, like, it goes back to what I was saying before, like, how do these black people, particularly in entertainment and spaces where they're going to be visible, have the audacity to say, yo, I'm such a badass, I'm going to do it anyway. Look at him.
That's a perfect image.
Look
to end
at
on.
him. What an awesome guy.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't do him enough justice. I don't know if I'm...
We did the best we could.
I lusted a lot.
But at least we let people know about Max Robinson, his legacy, how important he was, the history he made in broadcast news.
Right. And I also love, and I just want to emphasize this, I love that he's not, some like Ivy League, like Jack and Jill Morehouse kind of guy. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And Oberlin is obviously a very great school. I just mean that to say that, like, oftentimes, especially in academic spaces or maybe like social justice spaces, or spaces that are intellectualized, like a lot of Black people who don't have access to schools like we had access to, or money, resources. We come from New York. I know he's from D.C., but he spent time in Virginia. I just mean that, like, if you're not a coastal Black person or a Black person from a big town who had access to money and, like, the best schools and stuff, it's even harder in academic spaces in particular, or intellectual spaces in particular, to, like, make it. And I just think it's very cool that he's an Air Force ass nigga, He was an Air Force dude from Virginia, and he got this afro and this mustache, and he's on ABC News, like, being hotter than Peter Jennings, So, like, I think that's very cool. This is not me, like, rejecting my Nigerian privilege or, like, my private school stuff. But I think about this often because, like, even when I was at Princeton, most of the Black kids at Princeton were, like, the children of immigrants, whether they were West Indian or African from different parts of Africa, and I'm the child of Africa. So I just think it's very cool. And I love that Black History Month sort of makes us focus on Black Americans in particular, because, when you think about, like, music and a lot of people who get to make art and stuff these days, which isn't to say they don't deserve it, and I'm someone who's pursuing art, so I'm not trying to exclude myself from it, but I do think that there is a de-emphasizing of things that are uniquely Black American sometimes, especially with the, like, influx of, like, Afro beats, and, you have Issa Rae, and, you have this invasion of Black British artists as, like, music and acting and stuff. I'm glad that there is, like, a grassroots kind of Black dude, because Ben Carson was disappointing all of us. So, like, I just want us to re-engage with the fact that, like, Black American people who descend from chattel slavery and stuff should have more ownership over Black presentation in media. Absolutely. And, like, this is quite literally a Black man who had ownership over the language that was carried over the airwaves, and I would like to see more of it, Even the first Black president, he's of African descent, immediate African descent. So it'd just be, it was exciting to read about a Black man who was, like, from here, of here, and didn't have, like, any of the, like, typical privileges that come a lot with some of the, like, most visible, successful Black people in Black American.
I'm glad you brought Max Robinson to our attention and everything. Please tell the listeners and everyone how they can follow you, keep up what you're working on, anything you want to share.
I don't fucking know where you can follow me because I keep deactivating Twitter. And I won't post on TikTok because, I didn't have my chin implant yet. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter if I ever go back to it at Rae Sanni. And you can follow me on Instagram at Rae Sanni 87, Rae, RAESANNI. And yeah, I'm trying to get back into stand-up hardcore. I lost my way a little bit. Pandemic LA, but I'm trying real hard. I'm trying to be funny. I wrote a good Jonathan Majors joke. I'm really proud of myself, but I think it's, it's expired now because we ain't talking about it.
Yeah, but still try it though.
I'm very proud of it. It also exposes my Black history knowledge. But yeah, I'm doing that, and I'm writing right now. Most recently on the reboot of Everybody Hates Chris. It's an animated show that'll premiere on Comedy Central and Paramount Plus called Everybody Still Hates Chris. I think the air date is May or June. I don't know, but I've had a blast in that writer's room. Chris Rock is amazing. One more thing before we go.
Okay.
When did the, like, revisionist history on Chris Rock come about?
In what way?
Like, why are people acting like they never thought he was funny?
Oh, well, that's opened up a whole bag of worms. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
there's a lot of weird.
Because listen, I think we don't have to get into it, but I think that you can acknowledge that stuff used to be problematic or doesn't work anymore without diminishing the cultural impact it had at the time. Because I don't know, because I rewatched a couple of clips of him recently for work. And like it was niggas howling in the audience for that niggas versus black people bit, and things like that. I mean, Bring the Pain was not a white person's comedy special. Anyway, but so that's what I'm doing.
Awesome.
I'm really excited for you guys to see that show. We worked really, really hard on it, and hopefully more to come.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Folks, y'all know you can follow me at Frodo_Blackens on Instagram and Threads. You can follow the show, Drunk Black History, on all social media platforms. Be sure, if you're watching on YouTube, press that subscribe button, drunkblackhistory.com. And thank you, as always, to LV Pro Film House for letting us use their studio. Please be sure to check them out. And thank you, Rae, so much again for joining us for another episode of Drunk Black History.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Scene 1, take 3.